I just made a video breaking down the top earners of the EuroLeague and found this brilliant idea in the comments. It would also be nice to show players from the NBA that get the same actual amount of money with the top paid in Europe, just to compare the qualities. So today I'll be looking at NBA players who are getting paid in the same range as the top earners in the EuroLeague. Basically, these guys are pulling in gross salaries of about $6 to $8 million in the NBA, which, if you strip out taxes and everything, lands them around that 3 to 4 million euro net mark. So it's a pretty direct comparison, and yeah, I think it's fair to ask, would these guys do well in the EuroLeague? First off, let's rule out anyone under 24. The reason is simple: if you're young and you're making $6 to $8 million, that means you're still on your rookie contract or you're just getting paid for your potential. Think Jaden Ivey or Shaedon Sharpe. They haven't yet hit their prime or solidified their role in the NBA, so their current salary might not reflect what they bring to the table in terms of experience. So we're left with a group of players who are in their mid-20s and up and are making decent NBA money but aren't necessarily superstars. In fact, they're sort of in the middle of the salaries list. They're around the median salary, so we could say that's what an average NBA player earns. What's interesting is a handful of them already had stints in Europe or actually came from there. I'm talking about Vasilije Micic, Simone Fontecchio, and Jock Landale. All three guys are getting pretty much the same, around 8 million gross, which is definitely more than what Fontecchio and Landale earned in Europe. With Micic is another story because he was getting pretty much identical pay in Europe, and not without a reason, of course. Before making the move to the NBA, he had already won back-to-back EuroLeague titles and the MVP. Landale only had one debut season in the EuroLeague with Žalgiris Kaunas, where he showed his NBA potential, moved back to Australia for a year, and eventually signed with the Spurs. Meanwhile, Fontecchio didn't do anything spectacular in the EuroLeague, but performed incredibly well in the 2022 EuroBasket, which earned him the NBA contract. If they came back right now with this extra NBA experience, would they have an even bigger impact? For Landale and Fontecchio, absolutely. When it comes to Micic, it might be that the peak of his career is already behind. If he does come back, he might prove me wrong, but we won't know until then. Before I talk about the American players, a quick shout out to Rabona, who have a special bonus code in the description below. Right, so next we have guys like Gary Harris or Kevon Looney, who are getting $7.5 and $8 million respectively. Basically, that would be the same as Sasha Vezenkov and Shane Larkin. Both of these guys are defensive specialists. Harris a solid perimeter defender, and Looney an absolute rebounding machine with the Warriors. And honestly, I think if you threw these guys into the EuroLeague, they would probably dominate defensively, but here's the thing: nobody pays such big money for pure defenders in the EuroLeague. The only exception being Walter Tavares, who with his towering presence impacts the game in a way that the paint is scary to enter. But otherwise, all the other top 10 guys provide more on offense than on defense. So what about scoring guards then? Well, Malik Beasley comes to mind. He's a shooter, plain and simple. If he had to head over to the EuroLeague, he would find a good role for sure, especially since EuroLeague teams love a dependable shooter who can stretch the floor. But in my opinion, we would probably see him put up inconsistent numbers as we see him do in the NBA. Plus, the more physical EuroLeague style and less space could actually expose some of his weaknesses in shot creation. Then you've got someone like Davion Mitchell, who's working on both ends of the floor. He's only 183 centimeters or 6 foot tall, but I believe he could be a leading scorer in a EuroLeague team, especially knowing how many undersized guards are dominating the league right now. Plus, there's his defensive impact, which in a league like the EuroLeague, where games are slower paced and defensive schemes are tighter, could be huge. There's a specific kind of grit that NBA role players can bring to the EuroLeague, and it's not just about the skills. Guys that do a little bit of everything at a decent level. Like take Kenrich Williams. He's been a role player in OKC and brings toughness and effort every single night. In the EuroLeague, I would see his style fitting in very nicely. Kind of a less athletic Will Clyburn or Nigel Hayes-Davis, considering the size and skills that he brings. Finally, let's look at the culture fit. For players like Jeff Green or Kelly Oubre, who are used to a very NBA lifestyle, Europe could be an adjustment beyond basketball. Green, for example, has become known as a dependable veteran who doesn't need to be the guy. He just wants to contribute and win. And he would be a super valuable piece for any EuroLeague team, really, as the stretch four market is really narrow right now. Oubre, on the other hand, has always leaned into his personal brand and identity, so his whole Tsunami Papi thing might be a bit harder to pull off in, say, Athens Athens or Belgrade. There are a few more names I could mention like Dean Wade, Precious Achiuwa, or Sadiq Bey, but I'll leave a link to this Hoops Hype article with all the NBA salaries in the description as well. So to answer the original question, yeah, there are a good number of NBA players in this pay range who would probably do great in Europe. Maybe even outperform the salaries they're making in the NBA. The most realistic options, I think, besides the international players of course, would be Gary Harris and Davion Mitchell. If they could accept a very different lifestyle and a different kind of spotlight in Europe, I think they could have a starring role in the EuroLeague. But of course, it's a two-way street. The EuroLeague isn't just an easy backup option, it's a serious league, and while these NBA role players would bring a lot, they would also face unique challenges. And it's that balance that makes these comparisons fun to think about. So what do you think? Who in this salary range would absolutely kill it in the EuroLeague? And would it be worth it for them, or do you think they're better off in their NBA roles? Let me know all about it in the comments below. Also check out our second channel where we talk about even more NBA topics, and I'll see you in the next one.